Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Wherever you are, this is your Talk Architecture podcast host, Naziaty Mohd Yaacob, with another episode. And this time I'm focusing on university campus design and the design problem. This is part 2 of the Design Problem and Processes series. I decided to focus on campus design, having visited Sir Norman Foster's project that was built to a certain extent at Trono, Perak, Malaysia, which is the Universiti Technology Petronas. I visited it myself as a user or a visitor, where the starting point was this huge driveway and a huge space where there is the auditorium on the left and the library on the right, and then we go into like almost a semi-floral design or organically curved design where the corridors lead to different faculties in that area, or the main space that was built initially. That is a campus design in which that main block provided the focus for the development of UTP later on. Now, that is a campus that is away from the city center, like many campuses in the world, that was purposely built in an area which is not developed, not a city area, maybe a small town or off it. I've been living and working in such a campus in Universiti Technology Malaysia in Skudai, Johor, and similarly, there is, the strategy is to place the faculties in different parts, but in a common area or the main space around certain buildings that are the ceremonial buildings or important buildings like the library and the auditorium or the chancellery right in the middle of it, in some sort of a grand gesture. So UTP, or Universiti Technology Petronas, was designed similarly to Universiti Technology Malaysia in a way that it is an out-of-the-city campus. Now, Universiti Malaya was designed that way, but it was designed in a suburban area which became much more densely populated, and in time, in the 2000s and 20s especially, a lot of development of Bangsa South and at the Kampong Kerinci area, and all these new development and around Petaling Jaya made it quite an urban campus. Although it's not like smack in the middle urban campus, like Cambridge or Oxford, where the buildings are part of the town. It's not like that. It is like a dedicated campus. A lot of designers and architects are interested in campus design, and one person whom is the GDP architects, Kamil Marikan and architect Lok, whom I had the opportunity to work with previously in collaboration at the University of Malaya when we had the first batch that we collaborated on to do with the Pudu projects. But Kamil mentioned about why not do the next year a campus design in Taiping. That was the idea, but eventually we didn't. But the idea to do a campus design with the students is something I realized to be a very interesting proposition. Excuse me. And because it has to do with master planning, it has to do with the campus design master planning, which is very nicely within the 7 weeks program of UM's design thesis program for the year. There's 36 weeks where 28 weeks are the first and the second semester, and the left 8 weeks, 7 to 8 weeks are the special semester. It is a good amount of time to do a master planning part of the project. So I would recommend highly, based on my experience in the design thesis before that, for universities or schools of architecture to do this. Now, the students would want to do this. They would want to be working on a university campus design, and that the tutor are really geared up to do this because there need to be an approach. When we managed to do the master planning of the Universiti Malaya campus back in July 2020, we found it to be a very interesting experience with the students of architecture. Although there was only 2 or 3 weeks that we could meet each other face to face, the rest was back to the MCO, COVID pandemic sort of work from home isolation. But all in all, we managed to come up with a master planning that everyone agrees. And we even had to think about financial viability of the campus. If we were to change things around, it has to be that confident for us to come up with the master planning. Everyone involved, including the students, would need to be confident and accept the idea and move on, because that helps. Because that, if the thing was, it wasn't run the way that we wanted it to run, because we had to leave after the special semester. I couldn't work with the students, and we had to leave, and neither did Kevin able to work with the students, but only as more very few of them, and also like a visiting architect sort of thing, or at the side. So it wasn't really, we're able to guide them better. But when you think about, putting that aside, but when you think about that type of project for the design thesis, you can learn a lot. Now, many of you out there who were trained as an architect, you had been in a university campus before, and I've had been in several, the Montfort University, which is Leicester Polytechnic, North London Polytechnic, London Metropolitan University now, University College London for my master's. So the way we negotiate the campus and the environment that it has to offer, or how we flourish and how we discover ourselves as in our 20s and also in my 30s during the master's course, it was a different sort of experience compared to later when I do my PhD, obviously. That was the young adult, well, in the early 20s. I was in University of Technology in Malaysia in Kuala Lumpur, at that time the city campus. The the fact that the city influenced my experience of being a student in the campus is also part of the experience, and celebrate those different rites of passages and rites of passage. That's one passage. And the sense of wonderment, or the sense of disappointment, the sense of happiness and joy and, sadness, and all sorts of stressed out situation where you go to, what you do, what are the spaces that give you some comfort, and the sort of food and smells of things and experiences that you had. And there are those extracurricular activities as well, apart from the more formal ones. And the studios that I worked in, how in the beginning, in the young adult phase, like in 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, it was new. It was delirious. I mean, in terms of how you studied architecture, even if it's very technical, the whole vibe in terms of being together with others your same age and laughing and screaming, and that's what a university is about. Celebrating life for the individual, especially the young adult. Later on, the other campuses got interesting programs or interesting spaces. Some had it in very old buildings. I was lucky that I was working near the AA school, Architectural Association School, and they had those evening lectures were open to everyone, and I attended many of them. And you can see Zaha Hadid sitting in front of me, and Herman Hexberger and many of these other figures which we talk about in awe, like star architects. But as a student, I was there when they were not really the star architects that they were later. I mean, the things that we wanted to do with Universiti Malaya School of Architecture, we had some programs where the students were running as well, discourse in architecture, and some of the debates and discussion that we had. It was great to be in a university and have all those interaction. And so going back into the design of a university campus, at first we look at it as a master plan, and how the campus was designed in a way that it was an alternative master plan where you can't get the cars to come into the middle area anymore. It has to be parked at strategic location, and then you can take buggies, or you can take walk around or cycle around. And the way we pulled in the important buildings around the lake, and how it became like a village, or like encircle around this main area, and how we made the chancellery going horizontally and more in keeping or next to the everyday life, rather than separated from the mundaneness. It's not special anymore. It's part and integrated with everyone else, where the vice chancellor could actually be walking alongside students. And, there was none of that hierarchical sort of design. And we celebrate the Students' Union and the library. So what we have here is a very exciting project where when you go into the detailed design or designing of each faculty or the blocks of building around, and the in-between spaces could be really delicious spaces where you could actually feel your way through. And I mean, like, I'm feeling how some campuses were really great, and they were not campuses at all. They were London's. When I was in London, it was those parks around the buildings in UC College, or North London Poly, where I was studying, and London was very much part of that higher learning experience that I had, going about in the museums. I mean, that is how the university campus could be celebrating this life of a human being at a certain time of their life, from 3 to 4 years and more. So I think that everyone could relate to designing a university campus, because at the 5th year level, they would have had 4 years of training before that in architecture, and it's something that naturally part of them, the experience and how they could express from their own experience, and also be empathizing with other people who are not like them, or the role of the academics, how they would put how they would design for the academics, how they would want the academics to be with the student. And then when they did different faculties, just say one is doing faculty of engineering, they would have to actually understand what an engineering student's like, or a medical student, or a sports science student, or a faculty of arts and social sciences, what exactly that is. It is something of a university, right? So in a universe, you have planets, and you have solar systems. And I've related this to myself being an academic for 28 years in architecture. At one point, I was doing a diagram, or I was thinking that an academic is like the sun, and the people around the academic are orbiting around the academic, because there's some support needed in terms of the academic will give this support and how to get the projects done. I mean, this in turn, the planet will be a sun in a solar system in a university. And you don't really need a place, actually. When you come to think of it, there's a debate here. The debate is the design problem in designing a campus. The debate and deliberation, I would also use the word deliberation, is that questioning about what is an academic, what is a student, That is the university, which is something that was conceived in the Middle Ages in Europe, or even before that in, in the Islamic Empire at that time, Ibn Sina, Avicenna, and those intellectuals. The idea of acquiring knowledge, and then other people were learning that knowledge, reading books and questioning, and then they become the expert. I mean, nowadays it's to do with the PhD holder, a testimony of their expertise in that area, for example. And then they will be the sun, and other planets will orbit them. So why I'm saying this, because when they wanted to change the 17 faculties at that time into 4 faculties, I had this idea in my mind that will work. That actually could work. And I wouldn't really care where architecture school was going to be. If it was in a business school, fine. It was in the law and business school faculties, fine. Because come to think of it, it's not about the faculty anymore. It's about that academic. But because it was too much of a confrontation to actually making the faculties, 17 faculties into 4 faculties, main faculties. And trying out of that 4 faculties, there would be decentralization, and each faculty would be much stronger in terms of how they could, control the money that they need to utilize to, and they need to actually commercialize and bring money into the faculty. So I don't know, now it's still centralized. So the point was, when we talk about university campus master planning, we can't talk about only the physical master planning. We need to talk about the economies of it, the social part of it, the experiences, the what is learning and what is teaching and all that, what is the philosophy, the approach needed. And even if you're an architect wanting to do university campus, like the Norman Foster version or the Kevin Martlow version where he did it with the students with alternative master planning of Universiti Malaya, there are 2 different approaches, because how much debate and how much questioning are you going to have? We did that master planning in the special semester of 7 to 8 weeks so that it will help the student to develop the physical design. But those questions could come up in the crit, could come up with how the students could utilize those concepts and try to, the non-architectural concepts, and try to have it explored in their own subject matter or faculties or centers. So, I would highly recommend any school of architecture to pursue designing a university campus as one of the endeavors, because the design problems are numerous. We're coming to the design problem now. When you break it down to detailed design of what are in between spaces, environmental sustainability, economic spaces that could generate income, how do you design the in-between spaces depending on the faculty or the centers that you're having, and all the goals that you can come up with in designing specific faculties. How do the academics work, and what are the academics environment? How much of it is part of the students' environment? Is there any different? And where do they sit? Where do they work? Is it side by side with the students? Stuff like that. The design problems are numerous. And then when you have a residential college that is being designed in between the spaces as well, there was the idea earlier. How are you going to do that? Is it going to be on top of the building, and how is it going to be separated then the faculties? For example, that prototype. So not only master planning aspect, but also the detailed design in which the students, the academics, the commercial side, making money side, the environmental sustainability side. That's already 4. And when you find 5 others, maybe the construction, maybe designing for universal design for disabled persons, then you already have 3 more. Then you could find so many things like the spaces where they interact most, or if you have a school of architecture, the studios or the crit halls, stuff like that. There's specific spaces for specific faculties or centers that you could design for. It is something that all design thesis should consider. Design thesis programs in the Master of Architecture courses in the world could really get the teeth into when the complexities are there for us to see and make it worthwhile, and the debate and the interesting conversation that it can happen with designing university campuses and those different building types and in the campuses and in between spaces, and even the research centers. What is research and what type of research, and are they different? There's quite almost magical in terms of the learning experience, and could be all sorts of discussion, and could be a fodder or an important content to create a publication. What a mischance, a missed opportunity indeed to have gotten the University Malaya Alternative Master Plan to where it could have potentially been. But this is not a negative review. It's not supposed to be something that is critical too much, but it's to give hope for those out there thinking of doing a master of architecture design thesis final year project with a group of students, maybe about 10 or 12 of them, doing a campus design. And UC Malaya was perfect in a way that it has a transportation network already linking to Kuala Lumpur and Petaling Jaya. It has that pedestrian network already. So what I'm trying to say is that it has all the faculties, the sports science faculties, the to do with recreation and sports already, could give the best input in terms of linking it to the faculty of medicine as well. There's some established departments in biomedical field with these two faculties, and the different faculties could have spaces that both could use very well, and the whole idea of it. So, and also that bigger debate that has to do with, do you need a campus to run a university? Stuff like that. And that would throw ideas out into space or just make you think a lot. And that is ripe for design thesis projects. Really, it does. And you need some a philosophical approach, and the tutors or the architects that could be leading this design thesis master planning on campus design really need to be someone strong philosophically, because the student will need to buy into it as well. So, all right, that is all I have for this topic on the design problem and processes and relating to campus design. The next one would be relating to another building type, or also to go into in detail with the design problem. Thank you. Bye.